Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Ma yafeh hayom. Shabbat Shalom. Ma yafeh hayom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
Good evening, Shabbat Shalom, and welcome to our service. It is hard to think that when the New York Philharmonic is playing Tchaikovsky tonight that we'd have to compete with anything like that, but you're the hardy ones who show up, so we're glad to see all of you with us. And it's also, we're going to be celebrating the Jewish Valentine's Day in just a moment. We'll explain a little bit about that as well. So we begin our service with our candle lighting. Is there someone who would like to come up and light candles for us? Anyone?
I will sing it, don't worry.
Sure, come on. Come up with your sister.
Well, in that case, maybe Haley has to sing it. Do you want me to do it, or do you want to do it? Okay. Okay. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner Shel Shabbat.
Thank you. And that's not as unusual as you would think, because I know when I would be out on a ship and it was just guys, someone still had to light candles. So now you know how. Okay, thank you. That was great. May the Shabbat candles that we now light inspire us to see justly and gently, look honestly and with kindness, and to see what's holy in each other. Page 4 in the bottom of the page, Hine ma tov, how good and pleasant it is for us to be together.
And it is so wonderful that we are finally able to all be together. And so please take a moment to introduce yourself or to say Shabbat Shalom to someone sitting nearby. Hine ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov shevet achim gam yachad. shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim שבת אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב ומה נעים. שבת אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב. יאללה לה, יאללה לה 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 לה, הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב. יאללה לה, יאללה לה 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 לה, הנה מה טוב ומה נעים. שבת אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב ומה נעים. שבת אחים גם yachad. It's what we lack in numbers, we make up for in vocal strength in
quality.
this crowd tonight.
It's all quality. And we don't know how many are out there singing in front of their televisions and
That's
screens
right.
either. Well, as I mentioned, it's an interesting holiday that falls now. It's called Tu B'Av. And when you think about the 3 weeks leading up to Tisha B'Av, which was the destruction of the temple, Tu B'Av takes on a whole nother meaning where many of the rituals that are of sadness are eliminated on the day. And Israel has now, in modern times, transformed this into their own Valentine's Day, where they say it's a great day for weddings, commitment ceremonies, renewal of vows, and proposing. So they're singing and dancing in Israel. Hallmark probably isn't there, but it could become the whole Valentine's Day for Israel. So in speaking with the cantor, I said, why not Dodi Li? Found on page 7 in our prayer books. We don't do it that often. My beloved is mine, and I am his, the shepherd among the lilies. From the Song of Songs, we'll join with the cantor, page 7.
Dodi li vani lo haroeh bashoshanim. Dodi li mizotola min hamidbar. Mizotola min hamidbar. Dodi li vani lo haroeh bashoshanim. Dodi li mekuteret mor ulevana. Mekuteret mor ulevana. Dodi li vani lo haroeh bashoshanim. Dodi li.
That was nice. We should be doing that more often. That was beautiful.
Everyone.
It's Valentine's Day every day. As we turn in our prayer books to page 8 at the top of the page for Shalom Aleichem, it's a beautiful prayer written in Svat, 16th century by the Kabbalists. And it talks about 2 angels that accompany you home on Shabbat, the top of page 8.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Asharet, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech Malchei HaMalachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Asharet, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech Malchei HaMalachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ay, ay, ay. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Asharet, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech Malchei HaMalachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei HaMalachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei HaMalachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ay, ay, ay. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei HaMalachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu ni l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei HaMalachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu ni l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei HaMalachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ay, ay. Baruch Hu ni l'shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei HaMalachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei HaMalachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei HaMalachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ay, ay, ay. Tzedchem l'shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei HaMalachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
And the origins of that?
It's just a Sephardic
It's almost a little Yemenite in a way, isn't it?
It's a little Yemenite feeling, yeah.
Okay, I saw a few dancers out here. That was good.
Yeah.
Getting ready. You'll dance at your bar mitzvah the same way. We know that. Well, as we turn in our prayer books to page 12, we lift our eyes to the mountains, just as the pilgrims were arriving in Jerusalem. They lift their eyes, they saw the mountain. We have our own. Top of page 12 as we join together.
Yavo Ezri. Esainai el harim me'ayin yavo Ezri. Ezri me'im Adonai oseh shamayim va'aretz. Ezri me'im Adonai oseh shamayim va'aretz. Esainai el harim me'ayin yavo Ezri. Esainai el harim me'ayin yavo Ezri. Ezri me'im Adonai oseh shamayim va'aretz. Ezri me'im Adonai oseh shamayim va'aretz.
I know for myself and for the cantor that summer camp is just transformational. Ramah, of course, mine was Ramah Nyack, but all the Ramah camps and all the camps that we have here that we support. And Ziva, I noticed this is like a new you. I saw you singing everything. So that camp is really starting to change you, I guess, as well. Congratulations. Well, let's turn in our prayer books to page 15. In the middle of the page, we'll talk about our covenant with God. We'll join responsively. As we live amidst the trees, streams, and mountains of Vail, we pray for the care and healing of the earth so that present and future generations may enjoy the fruits of creation. God made a covenant with Abraham and Sarah, blessing them and their descendants throughout the generations. We teach our children to love Judaism, to honor and carry on our traditions and laws of the Torah, so our legacy may continue. God made a covenant with Moses and the Israelite people to all generations, giving our people the 10 Commandments and challenging us to choose a life of goodness. May each day be filled with kindness, honesty, integrity, and righteous acts, so we remain filled with the promise of the covenants. Page 16, as we welcome the angels of peace, we join together, Lecha Dodi.
Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nikabela. La 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 lecha dodi, likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nikabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad, Hishmianu el hameyuchad, Adonai echad u'shmo echad, L'shem u'tiferet v'litchila. La 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 lecha dodi, likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nikabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nilcha, Ki hi mekor ha'miracha, Mirosh mikerem nisucha. Sof ma'aseh b'machshava tchila. La 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 lecha dodi, likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nikabela. Mikdash melech ir melucha, Kumitzvi mitoch ha'afaycha, Rav lach shevet be'emek habacha, Vehu yachmol alaychem. La 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 lecha dodi, likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nikabela.
At the bottom of page 18, we rise, face the rear of the sanctuary as we greet the Sabbath bride.
Boi v'shalom ateret bala,
Gam besimcha u'v'tzahala,
Toch emunei am segula.
Boi chala,
La 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 lecha dodi, likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nikabela. La 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 lecha dodi, likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nikabela.
May be seated as we turn in our prayer books to page 21 at the top of the page. We'll continue with Psalm 92 in English, a psalm entitled A Psalm for the Song for the Sabbath. It is good to give thanks to you, O Lord, to praise your name through song, to speak in the morning of your loving kindness and your faithfulness each night. To the music of the lute and the harp, to the melody of the lyre, I'll sing with my delight. We continue at the bottom of page 20.
Sadikata marifrach, ke'eres bavanon yivske, shetulim beveit Adonai, bechatzrot Eloheinu.
let's turn to page 23 for the wonderful reading that it just works every time we say it, and it changes each week that we do it. Before you head back to Nashville, you have to at least lead us in this. You've been with us for 2 weeks.
Thank you.
And they'd be so proud.
Just for today, is that the one?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Just for today, I will live one day only, forgetting yesterday and tomorrow, and not trying to solve the whole problem of life at once.
Just for today, I'll be unafraid of life and death, unafraid to enjoy the beautiful and be happy. People are as happy as they make up their minds to be.
Just for today, I will adjust myself to what is, and not try to adjust everything to suit me. If I cannot have what I like, I will try to like what I have.
Just for today, I will be agreeable, cheerful, charitable. Do my best, praise people for what they can do, not criticize them for what they cannot do. And if I find fault, I'll forgive it and forget it. I'll try not to improve nor regulate anybody except myself.
Just for today, I will have a plan. I may not follow it exactly, but I will have one. It will save me from worry, hurry, and indecision.
Just for today, I will get people off my nerves and not get on theirs. I'll appreciate them for what they do and what they are.
Just for today, I will not show it if my feelings are hurt.
Just for today, I'll find a little time for quiet, to relax, and to realize what life is and can be. Time to think about God and get a better perspective of myself.
Just for today, I will look at life with fresh eyes and discover the wonder of it. I will know that as I give to the world, so the world will give to me.
So, what'd you think? I thought she was great. Thank you. We turn to page 24 and we have a guest appearance.
Not yet.
Oh, you could have
Soon.
done this.
She could do the whole service, but
Okay, we'll get you next time. Let's turn to page 24, our call to worship, and we all rise for the Baruch Hu.
Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach. HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. HaMevorach. HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
May be seated. The bottom of page 28, let's continue with God's wondrous creations. As we join together on this Shabbat Eve, we take in the greatness of God's creations. As the snow melts on the mountain peaks on high, let our worries of the week flow away. And as the mountain springs give forth fresh water, let our souls feel refreshed. As creeks join streams and become the great rivers, let our faith of love grow stronger. And as we stand in awe of the great beauty of the Rocky Mountains, let our faith in God increase and renew. Let Shabbat be a time of peace. Page 30 at the top of the page, we'll continue with our oldest fixed prayer within Judaism as we join together in the
With
Shema.
Ziva and Maya and Lila and Harrison and Haley, who are going to lead us in the Shema.
Harrison and Harrison.
Harrison and Haley. Shema
Yisrael, Adonai, Eloheinu, Adonai
as we continue.
ואהבת אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברתם בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשכבך ובקומך ובקשרתם על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך
למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Thank you. That was beautiful. We turn to page 32, the Song of the Sea, Shirat Hayam, was sung by the Israelites after crossing the Red Sea safely. We join together the middle of page 32.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות עושה פלא, נורא תהילות עושה פלא. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה. Elianu ve'amru Adonai imlach le'olam ba'ed Adonai imlach le'olam ba'ed Yai lai lai la lai la 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 lai Yai lai lai la lai la 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 lai Ya lai la lai lai ya lai la lai ya la lai lai ya la lai lai lai.
Us from hatred and destruction that plagues so many corners of our world. The top of page 34 as we join together, Hashkivenu.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom Vehamidenu Malkeinu leChaim Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom Vehamidenu Malkeinu leChaim Ushmor tzeiteinu Uvoinu Lechaim u'shalom Be'ata ve'ad olam Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom Vehamidenu Malkeinu leChaim Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom Vehamidenu Malkeinu leChaim.
In the prayer of Hashamru, we recite the biblical command to guard the Sabbath. For in 6 days the Lord created the heavens and the earth. The seventh day he ceased from his work and rested. Page 36, we join together.
Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. Beinu bein b'nei Yisrael oti leolam, oti leolam. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim ve'et ha'aretz. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam.
Harrison, you going to Camp Ramah next year? You already know everything. That's really very impressive. Congratulations. Well, Birkat HaGomel expresses our gratitude for the miracle of healing and the full restoration of one's health to family and friends, and indeed full restoration to life itself. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, HaGomel l'chayavim tovot, sheg gimalani kol tov. May God, who has bestowed kindness upon us, continue to bestow every goodness upon each of us and restore our health. Well, to those in our community who are in need of healing, of body, mind, or spirit, if you have a person in your life in need of healing, please, in just a moment, please feel free to share their name aloud as we move about the sanctuary. Page 38 at the top of the page, we join together. Mishaberach.
Mishaberach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen.
We keep in our thoughts and prayers Gail Balin, Sue Beiser, Sonny Brodsky, Susan Coburn, Craig Cohen, Linda Colin, Peter Cook, Lynn and Michael Deutschman, Barbara Finkelstein, Deborah Fox, Barry Goldberg, Deborah Goldman, Randy Goldman, Donald Jaffe, Warren Janowitz, Mary Sue Katz, Herman Keek, Brian Kushner, Judith Landau, Pam Lessing, and Renee Myers, Pedro Prince, Stephen Reese, Roberta Scheller, Sam Schwartz, Patty Silverstein, Lauren Solomon, Dina Stempler, Liz Stern, Alan Tenenbaum, Tammy Trow, Mickey Wanaker, and Doris Leeds. Anyone else?
Jay Luba, Diana Lutz.
Thank you.
Sheberach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
We turn to page 40 and rise. We'll continue with the Reader's Kaddish.
Yitkada ve'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Ve'alma divra kirutei ve'amlich malchutei.
V'chayechon v'yomechon u'chayedechol Beit Yisrael. Bagala, bagala, u'vizman kariv.
Ve'imeru.
Amen. Yesh me'rabba mevarach, le'alam u'lameho maya, yitbarach.
Yitbarach ve'yishtabach. Yitpar v'troma v'naseh. V'tadar v'tale v'talal. Shemir kudsha.
Wichu.
Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata.
Tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran b'alma.
Ve'imeru.
Amen. Be not afraid of silence. It's more powerful than the unpolished word. It allows God's voice to be heard and allows tears and doubt to tumble out. The top of page 42 as we continue with the cantor.
Adonai. Ananana sfatai tiftach. Ananana ofi yagid. Ofi yagid tehilatecha. Ananana Adonai. Ananana sfatai tiftach. Ananana ofi yagid. Ofi yagid tehilatecha. Ananana Adonai. Ananana sfatai tiftach. Ananana ofi yagid. Ofi yagid tehilatecha. Ananana Adonai. Ananana sfatai tiftach. Ananana ofi yagid. Ofi yagid tehilatecha.
We continue silently, pages 42 through 57. may be seated when you've completed the Amida. As we continue the middle of page 56 with our prayer for peace, and join together, Osa Shalom.
Ose shalom b'ramav, uyase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, amen. Yase shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh 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 shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
We haven't done that in a long time.
Don't know the last time we did that.
Okay. But it's a perfect introduction as to what I'm talking about this evening. We read in the book of Ecclesiastes that for everything there's a season and a time for every purpose under heaven. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to love, a time to hate. A time for war and a time for peace. Well, there's so many examples of how the rabbis of the 1st and 2nd centuries shaped Jewish tradition. They shaped their laws and their values, yet they had a little bit of trouble accepting some of the parts of the book of Ecclesiastes. While Judaism abhors war, it yearns for peace. These well-known words that we have from, really, Pete Seeger took the words and then the Byrds sang them. But it expressed the fact that Judaism is not a pacifistic religion. Judaism abhors war, yearns for peace, and we see the words from Isaiah, nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. Our rabbis recognize that our world has, unfortunately, never been without war. So Ecclesiastes provides guidelines for determining when indeed is it time for war and when is it not. And it established rules for the conduct of war, all the time seeking to avoid war and especially working for peace. Well, they recognize that sometimes justice requires even violence, not only in personal self-defense, but in the military actions of a nation. So the morality of war is a topic that really Jews have seldom had to face in our history. Actually, there's only been 3 relatively short periods of Jewish history when Jews have had political and military self-rule. The first, of course, is Moses and all the way to the destruction of the first temple. Our second time, you could guess, would be the festival of Hanukkah, which talks about the Maccabean period. And then the last time, and the third time, is the modern state of Israel since 1948. That's it. It's only these 3 periods of Jewish history that Jews were in charge of their own destiny and the agonizing decisions then of determining when and how to use that power while they're in charge. So Jews, of course, have been a part of other nations' armies, and democratic countries they have even fought for the right to serve. Asser Levi, he's a great example. He insisted on the privilege of personally doing his military duty in the colony of New Amsterdam. And he refused to pay a tax, which in those days was allowed, instead of serving. So while serving in other countries' militaries, the decisions of when and how to fight, it was always in other people's hands. Until now. The modern state of Israel for 73 years has unfortunately had the overabundance of an experience of war. And out of necessity, they've had to develop this thing called a code of ethics to govern their conduct while they are at war. The code is called Ruach Tzahal, which is the spirit of the Israeli Defense Forces. And it specifies at its beginning that it draws on 3 specific forces to create this code of ethics. The first is the tradition and military heritage of the Israeli Defense Forces. Second was the tradition of the State of Israel, following its democratic principles and the laws of the state. And third, I think is the one that really ties us together, is the tradition of the Jewish people throughout our history. Now, what I found interesting in studying this code, that while drawing on the tradition and the history of the Jewish people, it never uses Jewish law as a source, which seemed odd because it seems like we're always falling back on that. Because Jews for over 2,000 years have had very little experience in determining how to fight a war. What Jewish law says about such things would be all outdated and antiquated for them to apply today. It's only in the past few years that Professor Asser Kasher, he wrote the first version of the Code of Ethics for the IDF. Now, I studied and I taught and I also had to live what was called the just war theory. This was written by Professor Michael Walzer of Princeton, and he suggested, after developing this for the United States military, he worked with Israel, and he suggested that Jews should borrow from other cultures to learn where the ethics, when to fight, how to fight, and the rules of engagement. He suggested that the Jewish code of ethics for war be written by probing the foundational values of Jewish tradition and applying them to the contemporary challenges of war. All you have to do every time Israel goes to war is watch what they do and others don't. And you can see that they're following the foundational values of Jewish tradition to say this is the best way we can be fair in our rules of war. Well, Ecclesiastes said, for everything there's a season and a time for every purpose under heaven, a time for war and a time for peace. And Jewish tradition has always taught that we do everything possible to avoid war, while acknowledging that sometimes war is both just and it can be necessary. Well, I found it interesting that the Jewish War Veterans of America, which was founded in 1896, was founded by veterans of the Civil War. And this is the oldest veterans organization in America. They stepped forward to serve, and they understood that there was a time for war and a time for peace. So honoring these veterans since the Civil War in 1896, honoring the veterans who have fought for our country when that was necessary, well, sometimes it was at a considerable cost, their physical and mental health, and even at the cost of their lives. Their contribution, I think, when we think about Ecclesiastes, makes all of us proud to live in this land. Amen. I didn't bring a bulletin to talk about all the details of what's happening, but we do have a service. Hopefully the sun will shine tomorrow morning and we will be outside by the creek. I don't want to say I hope it rains later because I have a wedding later that's supposed to be outside, so Sunday it can rain, and then we can all be happy with what's happening. Oh, thank you. Thank you. We have coming tomorrow, it's a really interesting program. It's with Doug Sesserman. He is the president of Ben Gurion University, and it was formerly, he has worked on their vision and is going to be talking about cybersecurity and many things that they're doing at the university. He'll be here after services, so if you come for services tomorrow morning, this is just like a eating day. 8 o'clock to 9:30, we have the service we have a breakfast before we go outside for services. And then we have our service which the Hopmeyers have sponsored for us, and it's in memory of CJ. So we have a new cover. This is the one that we have. We have to change between the seasons. So this is for now. We have another one that's in memory of CJ Tenner, and we'll be dedicating that tomorrow with his family at our service. And then following that, the president of Ben Gurion University will take about 45 minutes to an hour for lunch, and he'll be talking with us about what's going on in Israel and at the university. and the many things that they're doing there. And with the school,
Yep, we're excited to get our religious school started back up in the fall. We have so many new families this year. We are so excited to welcome all of them, some really amazing people, and we're very hopeful that we will be fully in person in the fall, pending the state of the universe at that point. And a great camping trip coming up at State Bridge. We'll get to be one of the first groups that gets to use State Bridge as they are reopening. And we're ready to roll.
We have 2 Shabbat services. Our next one to come up on Saturday morning will be our blessing of the animals, instead of just calling it Dog Shabbat. I mean, you can bring any kind of animal that you'd like. We've had lizards and snakes as well. And on August, let me get the date right, August 6th, we have a pre-Shabbat talk with our tour guide that's been taking us all over Israel, Shimon Zemer, and he's going to talk about what's happening in Israel. He's traveling the country right now, but he will be with us again before services for that. And unfortunately, the Israeli wounded soldiers are not able to get out of the country, and even if they could, they can't get back in without quarantine. So we put that off until March, and they're going to come ski with us. Should be very interesting. And it's been quite the day for the cancer and myself. We just got back from Denver, and it was a very sad moment to say goodbye to Myrna. Myrna Sigmund it was right there where she would always sit, and not just that, but for mountaintop services and everything. And she was quite the woman who really had the resilience where you could never come up to her, and they said this as part of her eulogy. You can't come up to her and say, oh, my shoulder hurts a little. She'd look at you and say, no.
Big deal.
Right, exactly. So our condolences to Don and Lauren and Mimi, David and Robin and Edward and Sarah, the grandchildren, that she was truly a founding, one of the first presidents of the congregation, started the school with 6 kids and really did so much for the congregation. So she will be missed, but we will be thinking of her, and we'll look forward for their family to come back. Shiva is on Saturday night at 6:30 for anybody.
She made our Torah cover.
Which when we opened the Ark, you can see the Torah cover, and that was when she was not busy teaching speech therapy, she learned how to needlepoint. Well, that's good for us because we ended up with a beautiful Torah cover. And for those that want to join us tomorrow for lunch, just let us know after services. We have wonderful sandwiches and an amazing discussion from the president of the university. Thank you all for joining us tonight. We love having it every time that we get to see you, and welcome back, welcome here, welcome to all of you, and welcome who's ever out there as well. We're glad to have you with us. And I apologize if my eyes keep darting up, but when I see a black sedan parked outside the door, it's not there anymore, but it just parks there, and the windows are dark, and I look at them and I think, I'll just keep watching, because I'm just a little too paranoid with that kind of stuff. Well, let's return to our prayer books. We'll honor Myrna. We're going to open the Ark, take a look at her Torah. Page 60 as we all rise for Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon ha'kol, la'atit gedula le'yotzer bereshit, shelo asanu kigoyei ha'aratzot, ve'lo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chalkeinu kahem, ve'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, u'mishtachavim u'modim, Lifnei Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, V'ne'emar, V'hayav Adonai, L'melech al kol ha'aretz, Bayom hahu, Yeh Adonai echad, U'shemo, echad.
At this moment, in memory of our loved ones who are no longer with us, we join hands in love and remembrance. A link has been broken in the chain that bound us together, yet strong bonds of home and love hold us one to another. In solemn testimony to that unbroken faith which links the generations one to another, we call to mind whose yahrzeit we observe this month. Fred Allen, Joan Barr, Paul R. Beck, Gerda Berendt, Janet Brown, Joe Corbin, Thomas Daniel, Shirley Dayton, Mark Ettinger, Pauline Azursky, Alan Friedman, Faye Fermansky, James Gaynor, Arthur Glickman, Beryl Goldstein, Harry Goldstein, Miriam Graubert, Bernard Greisman, Joseph Guss, Jerome Heffer, Kenneth Hertz, Teresa Sosa, Eric Joss, Ida Kahn, Henry Kahn, Stuart Camber, Jerome Clowens, Selma Cohn, Felix Landau, Norman Lanceman, George Lerner, Betty Levin, Estelle A. Marks, Johanna Mini, Pauline Morell, Joellen Multack, Gertrude Palikow, Ruth Plotnick, Regina Resnick, Regina Sheriff, Neil Scher, Ann Silverstein, Ellen Rhoda Solomon, Jay Soslin, Betty Spitzmiller, Jacqueline Steinberg, Benjamin Stemple, Wynn Tanchel, Evelyn Trout, Ann Tudenger, David Waldman, Mary Weinstein, Morris Wetcher, Walter Wolf, Jürgen Yashik, Bernice Klauski, and again our condolences to the family on the loss of Myrna this week. If anyone else is observing a yard site this month.
Diane Eisenberg.
Thank you. Thank you. And welcome back. Thank you. The Mourner's Kaddish can be seen in our prayer books on page 64. Those who wish may join with me as we say, Yitzgadal v'yitzkadash shemei rabbah, v'yalma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yom mechon u'v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, v'agalav izman karivim ramein, Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach le'olam omei omaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudashah b'richu, Eila min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran bi'alma v'imramein. Yehei shlomo rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imramein. Oseh shalom b'imramav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imramein. May be seated. For all the other announcements, and there's no way that I could have read through all of them between the book Chavarah, which is coming up, and that's going to be at Sonny and Phil's house. Please take one of these before you leave. It's got great stuff in here, and it's just filled all the way through the holidays when we go to Red Rocks?
Yes, I believe it's Red Rocks
Okay,
this year.
or the Gerald Ford Amphitheater. We'll check and see which one's going to be open. But it should be great at the amphitheater, an amazing service. Well, Ziva, come on up here. You really earned this service with your mom. You could lead a Don Olam. You were so good today. You must have. What camp was this?
Asrui.
What was your camp you went to? Atsrui?
Asrui. Olin Sang Ruby Union Institute. OSRUI.
So it's like an abbreviation. Well, you need to lead a Don Olam with your mom because you were so good. Let's turn our prayer books to page 66 and choose the tune.
What tune should we do for Adon Olam tonight? Let's even choose what should we do for Adon Olam tonight. Pick a song. What songs do you like? You don't know? You don't know any songs in the whole world?
Harrison, is this your last time here? What's your tune?
No, this is my first time here.
Oh.
I know, we miss you, Lindsay.
Let's just do the regular one.
Okay, all right, we'll do that one. The classic. Adon Olam, Asher Malah, B'terem Kol, Yitzir Nivra, Leit Nasa, B'chefsa Kol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam, Be'acharei Kichot HaKol, Levado Yimlech Nara Adon Olam, Behu Haya, Behu Hoveh, Behu Yeh B'tifara Adon Olam, Adon Olam, Asher Malach, B'terem Kol, Yitzir Nivra, Leit Nasa, B'chefsa Kol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam, Behu Echad, Ve'ein Sheni, Laham Shilo Le'achbira Adon Olam, bli reshit, bli tachlit, velo Hashem Yisrael Olam Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Leit Nasa B'chefso Kol Azay Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam Behu Eli B'chai Goli B'tzorchav Li B'etzara Adon Olam Behu Nisi Umanos Li Benat Kosi B'yom Ekra Adon Olam Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Leit Nasa B'chefso Kol Azay Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam Beyado Avkid Ruchi Be'et Dishan Ve'ayira Adon Olam Be'im Ruchi Geviati Benat Kosi B'yom Ekra Adon Olam Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Leit Nasa B'chefso Kol Azay Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam.
We'll rise for a blessing. Adonai Ozli Amo Yitain, Adonai Varechet Amo V'Shalom. May the Lord grant strength unto his people. Bless all peoples with peace.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei puri hagafen l'chaim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'tei
There's challah and
avon.
wine for everyone outside, so please join us. Shabbat Shalom.
Bim bam, bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam, bim bam, bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat 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 Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom.